everyone, it's Catherine here, Curvy Fitness, and today is episode 3 of the Diary of a Recovering Binge Eater. So welcome to anyone who is new to the channel. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up to date with any of our latest videos. So in today's episode, I wanted to share a little bit about speed bumps. Speed bumps in terms of in your recovery journey. So sort of as I wanted these kind of episodes to be really honest and transparent from my own experience and from my own recovery journey. This is something that I have been kind of going through at the moment. So I've been in recovery from binge eating disorder for about 6 months. I've suffered from the disorder itself, gosh, for probably about 15 plus years. And the last sort of week or so, I would say is the first time really in my recovery journey that I've actually encountered speed bumps. So when I sort of finished my therapy in the last session, one of the things we looked at was sort of creating a plan, and whether this is the same for you, or but yeah, it's creating a plan around, relapses is actually, the usual terms, kind of what they call it. I like to call them speed bumps because it sort of seems a lot more temporary and a lot easier to kind of overcome. So when we made this plan in the last session, I was in a really great place, and just couldn't comprehend the thought of kind of having any sort of relapse. So we were sort of going through the plan, thinking about the thoughts and feelings that I might be feeling at the time when I have a relapse, and the plans that we could put in place. And it just seemed so such an alien concept, because I just sort of thought, God, I can't imagine going back to that. Why on earth, when I look at my pros and cons list of binge eating disorder, why on earth would I want to go back to that? But of course, in true style, a disorder is not something that you're going to overcome overnight, because if it was, then there would be, all these millions of people around the world suffering from these disorders. We wouldn't be, and it would be a lot easier to treat and a lot easier to overcome. So maybe a little bit naivety on my part, and of course, as soon as those triggers, and for me, it's definitely sort of emotional triggers, and situations, brought all of those thoughts and feelings up again that I'd been working on, and for me, triggered a binge. But now the thing that I want to, and I've been working on this, so as I say, it's been over the last week, and in varying degrees, and there's been 3 or 4 things that really jumped out to me that this is why I kind of wanted to share. So for anybody else that's going through their recovery journey, maybe it's hit a speed bump, these are things that have helped me. So first of all, I sort of sat down, and when it happened, when my first binge happened, and I sat down and thought, okay, why? So why has it happened? Let's look back at what emotions was I feeling at the time, what situations had happened, what were the things that I was, preempting and crystal balling that were going to happen in the future, and I was worried and nervous about them, and that was what was impacting me. What thoughts were going through my mind, what emotions were going through my mind at the time. I sort of wrote that all down. Again, everyone works differently, but for me, writing it out, I find it really kind of cathartic and really helps me look at my thoughts as well, and sort of analyse and work out what's going on. So I sort of wrote it all down. I keep a journal every night, or I write in a journal every night, so I and that really helps as well to kind of look back over those periods of those snippets of sort of, oh, okay, that was what was going on that particular day. So that was the first thing that's really helped, and it's really brought sort of some feelings to light and some situations to light that maybe I hadn't necessarily looked at and seen before. Another thing as well that I found really helpful was kind of compartmentalizing that speed bump episode. So before, when I was in the sort of full throes of my disorder, even if I had a small binge, and obviously everybody's completely different, so everyone's version of a binge or even a small binge is will be different, so I would start off with something and that would trigger that, and then those feelings of guilt and all of that would come washing in, and would just make it so much worse, and would make it last longer, would make it a lot bigger than it could have been if actually I'd just gone, okay, well, that's happened and that's fine and I'm okay, and accepting it understanding it and then kind of moving on, and I never used to do that at all, and this time I really have done, so I've really sort of said, okay, that's happened, and that's fine. And the other thing that's really helped me is, one of my things that as I was going through therapy is, and again this will be different for everybody, is my triggers were also really around when I sort of restricted myself and I saw good and bad foods. And this is kind of the traditional thing, you know, from the whole diet culture, and that's why I absolutely detest it with a passion, is, you know, you're made to feel that if you eat certain foods they're bad, that you're bad for eating them, and you must do a certain amount of exercise to burn it off. You must, tomorrow you've only got to eat salad and fruit to burn, you know, to compensate. And I was in a really bad place with that really kind of got hold of me, and this time when I had my sort of speed bump episodes, I really had to, I could feel and I could sort of hear those thoughts coming back in, as sort of like, oh right, well tomorrow then you can't have any of that, maybe, you know, all those old feelings and those old behaviours and those old emotional patterns came back in, and I was sort of like, no, that's it then, I clearly can't have, you know, cheese. That's it, I'm gonna have to cut it out then, you know, I'm no good at this, blah blah blah, all of those. As if anyone that sort of has a disorder maybe can relate to those feelings, yeah, they came back with a passion. And actually just hearing those and actually just sort of sitting in for a minute and just kind of going, God, I'm actually saying that to myself, you know, and sort of shining a light on that first of all, but also sort of understanding that actually by doing that it keeps you in that cycle. So by sort of having that day and then suddenly thinking, right, well that's it, I can never have, you know, those group of foods, those biscuits, those whatever, those foods that have triggered you that time. It's not those foods, it's your attachments and your thoughts and emotions based around those that's what causes it. So by, you know, just saying that's it, I'm never going to have those, just keeps that going. And now I know that. Obviously at the time I think there was an element before I sort of you know, went through therapy and stuff, there was an element that I knew that in my head, I knew that wasn't helping, but equally I didn't know any other ways of coping and any other ways of sort of combating that. That was the only sort of strategy I had really at the time. So those are the kind of main things for me, and thankfully that's really helped me sort of get a handle on it, and also to sort of again understand where some of those behaviours are coming from, and tackle those head on. You know, again, everyone's going to be triggered by different things, so there might be situations going on in your life that you've got little control over, but for me the biggest thing is sort of understanding, okay, well what can I do? There's the whole myriad of things, and gosh, for anybody now, you know, the whole pandemic going on at the moment, there's a whole load of things you have no control over, and you know that that's how it is. But there are things that you can control, and how you think about it and how you process it, you absolutely can control. So for me it's sort of taking that power back, and understanding, okay, well what can I do in that situation? What are those tools that I you know had in my recovery? Maybe should I implement some of those back in again, like journaling, keeping my food diary, things like that, to sort of, you know, just keep a little bit of more of a handle on it to help me get back to that, you know, that good place. And ultimately as well, it's letting go of the guilt around it. I think for me, when I sort of finished my therapy, and I you know, I was sort of almost with those rose tinted glasses on, thinking, well, that's it, you know, I'm in recovery, that's it, I'm never going to have any speed bump episodes, I'm going to be fine, and that's it. And actually it's understanding that, you know, it's taken a very long time for me to get to a really bad place with my eating disorder. So it's not going to happen overnight that I can get to, you know, to completely recovered from that. It's going to take time, there's going to be ups and downs. And a really great quote actually in my first blog post, sort of physical blog post, which I'll link in the description, there's a great quote my therapist, I remember she said to me, is that no recovery journey is perfect, and you know, it's kind of reminding myself of that, and actually it's not, and everybody is different, every recovery journey is different, and it's removing that guilt from it and sort of saying, do you know what, if that has happened, accepting it, and are there things that I can change, things that I can do differently to help myself kind of going forward. But ultimately just understanding that that's part of the process, and that is sort of part of your journey, and that's okay. So I hope this is helpful for anybody else that's maybe in a similar situation. If you're sort of in the throes of binge eating disorder, I've 100% been there, and if you are watching, listening to this, you know, I really would urge you to get help in whatever form that is that you find it comfortable to get help, because there is kind of light at the end of the tunnel. There is, and as I just explained, there will be speed bumps along the way, but they are absolutely just speed bumps, and that's all they are. They're not, you know, dead stops and that's it. You're regressing right back again. They're just speed bumps to overcome and to learn from, and from learning from that, you're going to get stronger and yeah, sort of better as you go forward. So it was lovely, you know. Hope this has been useful, been lovely, kind of like sort of reaching out to you. I'll link in my socials and stuff, so it'd be really great to connect with you, and just hear any of your stories, and you know, hear how you're getting along on your recovery journey as well. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll catch up with you all soon.